And I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start by thanking you for convening this important debate. We are also grateful to the Secretary General for his briefing this morning, and of course acknowledge the presence of several panel members. Mr. President, the work of the high-level panel on peace operations was seminal in nature. The Secretary General's initiative to convene the panel to review peacekeeping didn't come a day too soon. Peacekeeping operations have been a critical instrument in the UN's toolkit. Blue helmets have become the most significant and visible contribution of the United Nations to international peace and security. Over the years, they have adapted to the changing nature and dimensions of conflict, and this process of change continues. We hope that the report of the panel and the Secretary General's implementation report will take this process forward. Mr. President, these reports outline key priority areas for UN peacekeeping, along with an agenda for action. These recommendations provide a pathway for much-needed reform endeavors, including assessments of planning capabilities, leadership, and training, as well as more focused mandates. Let me briefly put forward Pakistan's view on the reports. First, the overall tone of the report is rightly optimistic and, of course, forward-looking. We are gratified to see several of our ideas find resonance in the reports. They include the importance of consultations with TCCs, provision of better resources for peacekeeping missions, a two-phase mandate formation process, and the non-deployment of peacekeepers for counterterrorism operations. We believe the principles of peacekeeping should retain their primacy. It is these principles on which the edifice of peacekeeping has been built. Adherence to these principles should remain the norm. Reform has taken place in the past without affecting the fundamental principles of peacekeeping, and so it should in the future. We agree that political processes should take preeminence in conflict prevention. Peacekeeping must be accompanied by a clear political track and political objective on whose success should rest the success of peacekeeping missions. Increasing the Secretariat's capabilities in the fields of prevention and mediation should be supported, as these would enhance its conflict prevention role. Complex mandates can only be implemented if peacekeeping operations are provided adequate resources. Where mandates and capabilities are out of sync, the Secretariat should candidly counsel the Security Council on remedial measures, and these proposals should be given due weight by the Council. On the issue of protection of civilians, the panel has proposed laying down requirements for reporting and accountability to the Security Council. This concept needs to be explored and further clarified, as it is not entirely certain what this would entail. The core principles of peacekeeping are not an impediment to the protection of civilians' mandates. The Security Council frames these mandates, and the use of force in defense of the mandate is an integral part of the principles. Adequacy of resources is critical to fulfillment of these mandates. There is need for caution when mandating enforcement tasks, as such operations should be on an exceptional and a time-limited basis. Mandates in this regard need to be carefully crafted to retain the distinction between peacekeeping and peace enforcement. The concept of proactive defense needs to be further elaborated. For rapid deployment and standby capabilities, there is need for resources and for streamlining of procedures of the Secretariat. Some of the delays are caused by these procedures. Compensation and reimbursement of troop costs should continue to get the focus it merits. A periodic mechanism for this purpose needs to be established. We do not support morphing the concept of peacekeeping into peace operations. This, we believe, is a recipe for confusion and ambiguity. The safety and security of peacekeepers remains an absolute and overriding priority for my delegation. Mr. President, Pakistani troops serving in peacekeeping operations are highly motivated, trained, and professional. They certainly do not shy away from mandated tasks. The cautious approach that we advocate is only that the UN carefully study the impact of these changes, including with regard to international humanitarian law, immunity of UN peacekeepers, and on safety and security of peacekeepers when their neutrality is compromised. Mr. President, we believe that the reports need thoughtful examination and careful study. For that purpose, we believe that the C-34 is the most appropriate body to deliberate on this issue. The idea of convening a special session of C-34 to discuss the finer details and chart out an implementation plan can also be considered. Mr. President, Pakistan has not only consistently been among the world's top troop contributing countries to UN peacekeeping, we are also at the forefront of norm setting on the subject. And as reinforcement and reiteration of our enduring commitment, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif co-hosted the Leaders' Summit on Peacekeeping last month and announced a series of new pledges to support future endeavors. So let me assure you that our commitment to peacekeeping is as strong as our commitment to peace itself. Despite challenging circumstances at home, we will continue to provide peacekeepers as we regard this as our sacred duty. We will continue to support this common cause. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for her statement.